Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 99 of the Runnin the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Nick and Joey. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great.
Hey fellas, what's up everybody?
How you guys doing? It's been a little bit.
Cold. It's cold in
It's
Ohio.
freezing right now.
It's unbelievable, and it's only going to get colder. It's supposed to be like negative 25s with the wind chills later this week. So everyone out there, stay warm, stay safe, and all that. Before we get into this episode, gotta ask you guys. Tonight as we're recording, we've got the college football championship game. Who do you guys like in this one?
Definitely the Buckeyes.
Yeah, even being from Ohio, I try to just stay away from the normal Ohio State fans because they're sometimes a little psychotic.
Okay.
But
Thanks.
they're gonna crush Notre Dame, I think.
I'll explain it this way. I heard someone say that if they don't win, it'll be a letdown because they paid all their players the most. I think there were two other schools that had a higher NIL salary base, but
top three though.
either way, like Ohio never gets to be the Yankees. Like, let us be the Yankees. We can be the Yankees.
We can 100%. I'm all on board for that.
I know. Shout out to my dad, Philly. He's going crazy, in preparation for this game. But as this comes out, we will already know the results of that game. So hopefully it is a good one. But we are back with the Runnin the Paint podcast, episode 99. And really, it's been a week since we've been on, since the live podcast. And honestly, not a whole lot of crazy news has gone around. We did have a trade that we'll get into later. Jimmy Butler returned to the lineup. And we will also give our 2025 All-Stars for this season. But first, let's get into PERTL, as we always do here. Nick, who is the player that you would like to guess for this?
It's Tobias Harris.
Ooh, okay.
Harris, the veteran.
He's been playing well lately.
Yes, he has been. All right, not bad, not bad. The number 12.
Ooh, in
Wow.
the Eastern Conference and knock out the entire Central Division.
Number 12. All right.
And he's 6'8".
And he's 6'8". And he's
that's a really good pick, Nick.
somewhat young. All right. Here we go. Let's think of number 12 players across the East.
I don't know player numbers like that.
Yeah, they kind of struggle.
I'm trying to think. DeAndre Hunter wears the number 12, and I think he may be 6'7".
I would be fine with that guess.
DeAndre Hunter. Let's go for it. Let's see if we got DeAndre Hunter. He's been another guy playing super well. Hey! There we go.
In two.
Nice.
Got it in two. How about that? That first guess was perfect.
That was pretty close to, yeah.
That was a perfect first guess.
That
and then
was
perfect second guess, just to piggyback off of it.
Absolutely.
Great job, fellas.
Great teamwork there for that one. Well, now let's get into, I guess, really the only big storyline of this week. And we got to go down to South Beach to the Miami Heat as Jimmy Butler, after serving his 7-game suspension, returned to the lineup on Friday night. Has played a couple games over the weekend for the Heat, both at home against Denver and San Antonio. First game, the Heat got blown out, but Jimmy Butler had an 18.7 assist game. Then on Sunday against the Spurs, had 8.7 assists, got off to a good start, but didn't do a whole lot of scoring. This has been a crazy scenario to watch over the last, month really now at this point. I don't know. Nick, we'll start with you. Did you think that by this point he would have gotten traded, or there would have been something that would have happened? Or are you surprised that he did play for Miami after that whole debacle happened?
I don't know if anything can surprise me at this point. Just because it's so new. Like, I don't know if we've ever been through a situation quite like this before. Now, Jimmy has a vested interest to play his tail off right now because he wants to get paid. And Miami has made it clear that they're not willing to do that at the price that he's asking, unless he's willing to opt into a lower price and then go somewhere else in a sign and trade. And I think that's kind of like the best case scenario for him right now.
I think my prediction was to like have him moved in the summer. I think he is going to play the rest of this year out, regardless if he's in Miami or if he gets traded. I would love to see him get traded because I just want this whole sideshow gone. I'm just kind of over it at this point. But I'm not surprised that he's still playing for him because the whole situation, like Nick said, is just absolutely crazy. There's nothing really that is surprising. They're going to act like children, then they're going to go do their jobs and do it really well. Like there's nothing else to it.
Yeah, it's just something that's really odd. And Jimmy Butler back for the Miami Heat. We'll see if a deal does get done over the next couple of weeks with the trade line coming up here. From what we've been hearing, it's sounding like Jimmy Butler's number one preferred destination now is the Phoenix Suns, who made a trade that we're about to talk about. But I don't know really any avenue to getting him besides a Bradley Beal trade, whose value may be at its lowest right now. So it's definitely a strange situation there, and that's something that we'll keep an eye on over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I know we're talking All-Stars. Jimmy hasn't in the first 2 games that he's been back hasn't really. He's not going to be in the All-Star conversation.
A sneak peek, I didn't pick him.
What a shocker! What a shocker! Well, let's go to that trade. We did have a trade over the last week between the Phoenix Suns and the Charlotte Hornets, with the Suns acquiring big man Nick Richards along with a Denver Nuggets second-round pick for this year in exchange for Josh Okogie and 3 second-round picks over the next few seasons. Suns getting another center, to fill in the depth on that team. And he's already played a game for them against the Detroit Pistons on Saturday afternoon. Came off the bench and had 21 points and 11 rebounds in his first game. He looked great, and it's certainly going to be a nice addition for the Suns going forward. I don't know 21 and 11 all the time, but certainly adding some depth to that team.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the Dallas trades from last year because it's like a guy who's not really actually from Charlotte too, just like who was PJ Washington or Derek Jones?
Yeah, PJ Washington.
And just kind of getting thrust into a new role on a bit more of a high level team and able to showcase their talents in a bigger role on a more high level team than he was with Charlotte. So I think it'll be good for Phoenix, the same way it was good for Dallas last year.
I was going to reference the exact same trade with the PJ Washington. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, it's just a great addition. It's what they need. They needed the depth because Nurkic can't do everything, at least as the big man role. So they can't play him 48 minutes, unfortunately.
He hasn't been playing any minutes.
Yeah, he can't play any minutes right now. He's been I remember at the beginning of the season, I was one of the people that was on him a lot for just not being good. And finally with the Suns, along with them making the change with Bradley Beal going to the bench, they've taken Nurkic out of their rotation entirely, going with Mason Plumlee. They were going with the rookie Oso Ighodaro, who I like, but a rookie for a team, at this point is trying to compete and rise up in the Western Conference. Get a guy, Nick Richards, doesn't have a ton of playoff experience, but has played 20 minutes a game over the last few seasons. Has given the Hornets this season 9.7 rebounds. Last year averaged 10 and 8, 60% shooting over the last few seasons. So someone that I'm excited to see how he plays with good players, because with his time with the Hornets, obviously they have LaMelo Ball. They have talented players, but they've always been injured, and that's why the Hornets haven't, really been that successful winning a whole lot of games. But Richard's a guy that doesn't need the basketball a whole lot and hasn't really gotten a chance to play with star players consistently, on winning teams. So I'm excited to see how his impact could be. It is very similar to PJ Washington, because he was kind of in a similar situation where we saw flashes. I'm curious to see how Richard's defense will be. He's a guy that's always been in the league leaders in shot blocking per game for a bad defensive team. I'm excited how that will rise up again on a winning team. But overall, just a good move for the Suns, and we'll see if this can help them, going forward. They really didn't have to give up a whole lot to get a guy like Nick Richards, but now this team is kind of set. They really don't have any more assets to kind of, trade away if they want to get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's go time for the Suns. Booker's playing well lately. 5 straight games with 30 points.
Yeah, the Beal to the bench seems to be the right fit, which, like, a lot of us and you guys predicted would happen back in July. So they're starting to click a little bit. They're starting to get the pieces. They just got to start locking in and push. I do want to say, though, for Charlotte, though, solid for them, too, because now that, like, last year they really needed to keep Nick Richards, but, like, this year Mark Williams is healthy. And he's been playing fantastic, especially of late. So, shout out to Charlotte. You don't need them that more. Get some second round picks. Every pick counts in the draft.
Oh, for sure. Second round picks definitely could be valuable for them going forward. And you're right. I mean, Nick Richards, he's really started a lot of games for them because Mark Williams has been injured, but he's been more healthy as of late, having a very solid season, averaging 14 points and 9 rebounds. And, over the course of this season, they've been developing Musa Diabate, their two-way guy. And so this will allow him to kind of get the full-time backup 5 minutes there for Charlotte in what has now turned into, a rebuilding season once again for the Hornets playing for the lottery there. So good move for both teams going forward. Nothing that's really too huge, but hopefully this can allow the Suns to rise up a little bit. I mean, still the Western Conference is so crazy. Phoenix is now 21-20, a game over 500, tied for the 10th seed in the Western Conference with a above 500 record. The West is still unbelievable.
Yeah, my glorious Kings have bounced back and they've been shooting up the board. They're in the 9th position. They've been on a hot streak, hitting at the same time the Suns are starting to click. So it's just those two teams feel like are going to be battling it out the rest of the year for that play-in spot.
Yeah, certainly possible. And again, that's something that we'll be watching for the rest of the season because the Suns, this is definitely a win now type of roster. And we know our boy Jackson Goglin is hoping that it goes badly for them so that, one of those Sun stars ends up on his beloved Houston Rockets. But now let's get into the meat of the episode, the 2025 All-Star picks from the Run in the Paint podcast. Is this Thursday, All-Star voting ends on Monday. It ends today as we're recording this. 3 votes in one day. Once again, another triple voting day. Then the starters for the All-Star game will be revealed on Thursday on the TNT pregame show. Then the reserves will be announced next Thursday. So that'd be a perfect time to compile our All-Star list for this year. Did it last year. We're going to do it every single year we do this podcast. And man, this was very, very difficult. It was not easy whatsoever. This was definitely a lot harder than it even was last year.
No sweat for the listeners because we do have all of Jackson's picks. I knew you guys would be worried that we wouldn't hear Jackson's All-Stars. We got Jackson's picks.
Yeah, we're all gonna be here with his trash takes.
Yep.
We'll see. But man, it was difficult. Before I kind of so all you guys sent your All-Star picks to me, and I compiled some graphics and videos to go over our combined All-Stars. Before we kind of reveal our picks, how did you guys kind of determine your All-Star rankings? What kind of went into the minds of you guys when you were maybe between a couple players? What kind of took a certain player over the edge? Was it winning? Was it individual accolades? What do you guys think about, the All-Stars for this year?
For especially the starters, I kind of looked at the fan vote a lot because I'm like, okay, well, we're going to kind of tell who's going to be the starters now, or at least based on the last vote, like unless anything seriously changes, we can tell who the top 5 are going to be. For all the reserves, though, because that was the tricky part for me. I did factor in winning because I do want winning teams to have players there. However, for example, possibly like the Orlando Magic, who have a really good record, but they don't have any like a standout player, they might not get one. Like it's just unfortunate that way sometimes, but like I factor in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and then, you mentioned a little bit with a team like the Orlando Magic, whole lot of injuries this year and a whole lot of normal All-Stars that just haven't played enough games and are injured and gonna miss the game. Like Nick, there are probably like 4 or 5 guys that would have been slated in this that are just off our list because they're injured.
Yeah, it's always tough with injuries.
Yeah, no question.
But you got to be on the court to make an All-Star game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. Starting off with our Eastern Conference starting lineups. So here are Eastern Conference All-Star starters. We all agreed on 4 of the 5 starters. Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics, of course, having a very great season, potentially his best individual season. Giannis from the Bucks has been unbelievable. You got Karl-Anthony Towns from the Knicks, definitely a big jump up in his first season with New York. And then Donovan Mitchell of the league best Cleveland Cavaliers. Stats a little bit down, but that's allowed the team to be a little more successful. And then our final East starter, split a little bit. Joey going with LaMelo Ball, the rest of us going Jalen Brunson. But Joey, to your point with the all-star voting, LaMelo has been number 1 pretty much this whole entire time.
That's the only reason. I am of sane mind to know I would pick Jalen Brunson to be my starter if I was an all-star voter and fan vote didn't matter. However, since the fan vote matters, and like I said, he's been number 1 in the guards vote, he's probably going to get one of those starting positions.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. He's averaging
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's LaMelo. He's averaging 30.7 assists per game, something like that, obviously, for a struggling Hornets team. But, Nick, I'm curious to hear what you think about that position. Obviously, you picked Brunson for this. So the fan voting accounts for 50% of the vote for All-Star. It's 50% fans, 25% media, 25% players. Do you think that the fan vote is enough for LaMelo to end up starting in the game, or will the media and players kind of offset that and it will end up being a guy like Jalen Brunson?
No, I definitely think that the fan vote could sway the starting lineup in the game. And that's fine. I mean, that's what it's there for. Like, the fans have always picked the All-Stars. I didn't necessarily look at this as like a prediction thing, and was more so like, I'm gonna pick my All-Stars. And the way that I weight things is based on stats, for sure. Stats are huge for these picks. Team success, and then like player impact on their team. Those are kind of like the 3 things I try and weigh out and balance those. One thing I'd had to take into account, especially in the West, is different this year, is like legacy. I didn't really anticipate having to do that. But legacy was another thing that I had to take into account this year. But for the LaMelo versus Brunson debate, Brunson's on the team that is winning more. I think he's the more impactful player on his team. LaMelo's got the stats, but Jalen's not far off of it, so I went with Jalen.
I feel like, that's again, I would pick Jalen Brunson if I thought it would, but like when you're talking about like the media and the players, they'll be like, well, yeah, the fans voted all that, but they're probably still gonna. There's gonna be a lot of people that are still gonna pencil in LaMelo just because his stats are so good, even though he's on such a struggling team. They're like, well, it's stat wise. There's a lot of people that just look at numbers. Let's be real. So there's gonna be people that are gonna vote for him as an all-star, and even with that, I think combined with the fan vote, Jalen Brunson should be the starter though. That's my final thing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. LaMelo may end up starting the game. I look at LaMelo's numbers, and obviously, 30 points is 30 points, 7 assists. He's also taking like 25 shots a game. He hasn't been very efficient, and his team hasn't been winning a whole lot. So honestly, I haven't been the most impressed with LaMelo's season because, I mean, if you take 25 shots a game and 13 threes a game, even if it's on low efficiency, you'll probably end up averaging close to 30 points per game. So we'll see what ends up happening. I guess the difference is LaMelo is definitely, a flashy. He's made for an all-star game for sure. So either way, he'll end up making the game. I mean, whether a player starts or is a reserve really doesn't matter in the whole long run. It usually only matters for this like week stretch where we're trying to compile our lists.
Right.
As far as our reserves, so I guess I should have mentioned the roster construction going into this. So obviously the 5 starters, it's 2 guards and 3 front court players. Reserves, it's 2 guards and 3 front court players as well, along with 2 wild card spots that can be anything. So for the Eastern Conference reserves, because we had a mix of LaMelo and Brunson, we all ended up having obviously both of those guys. We only agreed on 2 of the reserves. The rest of them were all kind of a little bit spread out. So our 2 players that we agreed on to be East reserves from the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference, Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics, and that's the wrong video. Hold on. There we go. There we go. These are there's the reserves. There's Jaylen Brown for the Celtics having another solid season for Boston, the number 2 team in the East, and then Evan Mobley from the Cavaliers. We all have him making his first All-Star game with the incredible jump up that he has had this season in the way that the Cavs have been playing. But then the rest of our East reserves, here they all are. Here are all the East reserves, Brown and Mobley, the 2 players that we all agreed on. Then everything else is kind of spread out a little bit across the board. Joey, what is the first thing that kind of stands out to you when looking at all of our picks for the East?
I'll be honest. I'm kind of shocked that you and Goglin don't have Lillard.
Well, you guys picked Garland over Lillard, and then Miles picked Siakam over Allen.
I picked Garland over Cunningham. Because that's the thing. Cunningham's having a great year. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like the Cavs should have 3 All-Stars. Look at the Hawks back in the day; they had 4.
I have 3 All-Stars on the. I have 3 All-Stars on the Cavs, and Young, and Cunningham, and Lillard. I have no Garland.
Oh, I didn't put Allen. No.
You guys should have put Allen.
No, Allen. I love Allen, but no.
Yeah, I think Damian Lillard might be a case where where the Bucks just get snubbed an All-Star at this point. I remember the Damian Lillard was getting snubbed a lot when he was in the Western Conference to start off with. But honestly, with the way that the season has been going, and the Milwaukee Bucks have obviously been playing a lot better as of late, I wasn't sure if they exactly deserved 2 All-Stars. And with Damian Lillard, he's obviously having a good season, and it's hard to knock really any of these players. I tried to spread some love across the board with some players. I mean, Jackson and I both not having Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is a great player. He was just the player that ended up not making it for us. He was definitely the runner-up for sure for me individually. My big thing for this list, Cade Cunningham to me absolutely should make the All-Star game. In my personal opinion, for the way he's been playing and the way he's kind of led that Pistons team up, as the star player. I mean, he's averaging nearly a triple-double this season. He's been phenomenal.
In all fairness, he was my runner-up. Same way you're talking about Lillard, same way I would be about Cunningham. He's just my runner-up. Like, I do value probably winning a lot more, and if you have the stats to back it up a little bit, I'm cool. That's why. And I do kind of feel bad for Lillard. I'm mad that you brought up the Blazers day because, man, that dude got snubbed so often. Every now and then I look back at his awards and all the All-Star. I'm like, man should have at least like 3 or 4 more.
He really should. And he could easily, Damian Lillard could easily make it over Tyler Hero for me. And I'm sure for Jackson too. Maybe not for Jackson.
Not for Jackson.
But, I want to give some love to Tyler Hero. He's been incredible this year on a Heat team where there has been, a lot of drama. We talked about Jimmy Butler and players like Bam struggling this year, Rozier struggling, and Jimmy not really being there. Tyler Hero really has the Heat being in a place to make the postseason when, in any other season with all this drama, they really shouldn't be in the conversation at all. So I wanted to give him some credit for that. And then of course, 3 Cavs. I had Garland in over Allen because, Garland – he's averaging like 21.7 assists on 50, 40, 90. That's all-star stuff right there. And
that's nuts.
That's all-star stuff being, averaging those numbers as the 3rd best player on the best team in the NBA record-wise. Had to get him into the all-star game. And then with the Siakam, I was very close to giving it to Jalen Johnson instead, who Jackson ended up having him making his first all-star game. But with the way that the Pacers have jumped up and Siakam has been playing very solid all season, wanted to give him some love
That's kind of
phenomenal.
where I was. I was like, obviously Paolo would be there. I was just say you texted me because I put Paolo in there, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's been injured.
Yeah, he's
Can't
played like
do
10
that.
games.
I'm like, oh, he should be up there, but dang. And same with like Bam, like it's usually he's been a lock for the last couple of years up there, and then this year it's just so down. I do love the Hera love. Like he would probably be on my next one if I could, him or Cunningham. If I could get rid of a Siakam or something like that and have 3 wild cards, I would definitely put Hero or Cunningham up there.
Yeah, for sure. It was certainly difficult. And, every year we always end up getting some injury replacements. So some of those guys that we didn't, have will end up making the game, as a forward spot. I think Jared Allen or Siakam or Jalen Johnson, those 3 were like all super close. Like on my first initial ranking of this list, on my 3rd forward spot, it was literally Allen / Johnson / Siakam. And I just picked a name by the end of it. Do you guys think that at the end of this, by the time we get injury replacements, if anyone has to miss the game, do you think that there will be 4 Cavaliers in the All-Star game? Because that certainly would be historic. And it doesn't really happen a whole lot, maybe once every 6, 7, 8 years.
I don't think Garland's making it.
I'm the same way about Allen. Like, I'll be honest, but if we have a bunch of injury replacements and it does happen, we might.
Miles,
I think 3 is the most likely, though.
Yeah.
I think you made the best case against Garland unintentionally. Like, yeah, he's averaging 21, 7, and whatever on 50, 40, 90. That is incredible. That is all-star stuff. And then you said he's the 3rd best player on his. So I look at the other guys around him. Dame has better numbers, arguably. I guess him and Dame are the 2 that are closest, and you guys left Dame off. But I think Cunningham's got a better argument. I think Hero's got a better argument. Trae Young's numbers are much better than Garland's.
I had Trae on there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Trae, well, assist wise, is obviously leading the league, in assists. But I would also say, I mean, the Cavs are 35-6. They've been 6, 7 games above the whole rest of the conference the whole season. I think it'd be fair to have a third of the East roster from the team that's been fought by far.
I guess just those other guys, like other than Dame, like Hero, Trae Young, and Cade are all the best players on their team. And I know Trae Young's efficiency is down, but I can't ignore. I think he's got 25 and 12 or 23 and 12 a night.
Yeah, 23 and 12. I was definitely thinking of having a Hawk on there. I think Jalen Johnson. I honestly, if we're the Cavs and the Hawks, I think Jalen Johnson and Jared Allen may both have better chances to make it than Garland and Allen, or Garland and Trae Young, even though they're worse players.
Yeah.
Roster, set up.
That I can't argue with it. Yeah,
absolutely.
But as far as who I got Garland, but it definitely, there's a whole lot of different players. It obviously could be.
I just always look back at the Hawks in 2015 when they had Teague, Korver, Millsap, and Horford all in the All-Star game, and I'm just like, this Cavs 4 is way better than that Hawks 4.
Well, I will also say, I mean, the Eastern Conference All-Stars were way worse at that time. Like, there's not this much talent across the board to where, like, and
also, 2 teams, we had 7 of them, with the Cavs having Kevin Love, Kyrie, and LeBron, and the Hawks having those 4 that year.
Yeah. And, and Kyle Korver that year ended up being an injury replacement. Like, usually when you get 4, it's 3 in the actual game, and then you end up getting the injury replacement. Exactly. But let us know in the comments down below what you think about our Eastern Conference All-Star picks. Now let's go over to the Western Conference.
Sure.
This was one that was definitely a lot more spread out wise. We'll start with our starters. Once again, starting with our Western Conference All-Star starters, I believe we only agreed on 2 starters across the board. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, probably the 2 frontrunners for MVP. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, who have both been incredible for the Thunder and the Nuggets. But those are the only 2 that we agreed on across the board. The rest of the starters, here are the rest of our starters with a combination of Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards with the backcourt spot, and then Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Victor Wembanyama, a combination of all four of those guys making it. And Nick, where you talk about the legacy sort of thing, that's kind of where this kind of, goes in here a little bit, because especially with the All-Star game this year being in San Francisco, Steph Curry.
Come on.
I mean, Steph Curry will probably end up starting the All-Star game. I mean,
this is why I picked him.
But I think Anthony Edwards has had a better season than Steph Curry. But with the game being in San Francisco, I think Curry will end up starting the game.
I feel like I'm having the same thing with the Eastern Conference, where I'm like, yeah, Ant should be the second starting guard, but he's not gonna be.
It's not an equal opportunity thing we got here. It's like earned, not given wasn't that long ago.
Well, with the legacy with these older players, they're going to get the nod, especially with the coaches that pick at least the reserves. And then,
Wemby should be starting.
Wemby should be. Here it is. Here it is.
Look at that. That is Wemby, Davis, Jokic. That should be it. Why do you guys have Durant?
Legacy.
Miles?
A combination of legacy. His team's been better, and he's been, really, really good.
The Spurs are better than the Suns, aren't they?
No, they've been bad recently. Kevin Durant he's averaging 27, 6, and 4, 52% from the field. He's doing Kevin Durant type.
The Spurs are 12th, and the Suns right now are 10th.
The Suns are 10th. So it's not that big.
Not that crazy, but
Victor Wembanyama, he's on the verge of about to start an All-Star game. Maybe it's this year. It's just I think it is super tough for these younger players that are playing great when you still have these legends like a Durant, James, all playing well. I think LeBron will end up starting the game because
Miles, tell the people where I had LeBron and Curry when I sent you my email.
I bet he
what
did
spots were they in?
I believe they were your wild cards.
Correct.
Yes, and that's basically where I had them as well. But that's basically where I had them as well.
It's possibly where they should be, but fan voting and media. You're telling me the media is not going to pick Curry and LeBron James to be in an All-Star game starting, which could possibly be the last one or two times we have this?
Well, look, LeBron. If LeBron averaged 10 points per game, he'd still be in the All-Star game.
We had Vince Carter and Dirk be All-Stars when they were averaging like 5 and 10 points a game.
Well, at least Adam Silver added a legacy spot.
I was going to say, there's no way that took away from
they gave
Şengün.
We should bring that back. We should bring that back.
There's no way that took away.
We should, but not for this. Curry and LeBron are playing like all-stars. It's not like that sort of scenario where they'd be taking spots away. But our reserve spots, I believe, they were pretty widespread. So here are all of our reserves, a whole lot of players that we all gave some love to here. Nick, what do you want to talk about first?
I like that you got Jackson Jr. on there.
I had to give a love to a Memphis Grizzly.
Wow, Joey.
What?
What's with De'Aaron Fox what's with Sabonis over Fox?
Sabonis is maybe that's I had to put a king on there. My favorite is Domantas Sabonis. So my bias got.
I thought you valued winning. You only have one member of the Oklahoma City Thunder on there.
Hey, listen, hold on. Sacramento Kings. Jackson has both Fox and Sabonis making his list.
And Şengün.
Which means he's no Grizzly for Jackson. I tried to give as much love to winning teams as possible while also taking into account individual performances. This year, Kings-wise, since it's been up and down, they had a coach firing, and since then it's been solid. Sabonis is the all-star for the Kings, in my opinion. It's obviously super close. It's been close the last few years. But, Sabonis, I think he's 21, 14, and 7, leading the league in rebounding. And now he's jumped Jokic. He's leading the league in three-point percentage. Domantas Sabonis. So I gave it to him, but obviously Fox, he got off to a great start to the year. But, across the board, I tried to give love to the winning as well as individual players. I wanted to give love to a Memphis Grizzly because they've dealt with a lot of injuries, but they're third in the Western Conference. Jaren Jackson has been an anchor of the defense. He's been great. But I don't have a Houston Rocket on the list, but so it's difficult. I don't have a Houston Rocket because I feel like with that team, it's been much more of a team thing. There hasn't really been a standout player that's been better than the rest of the guys that made the list.
I can't believe I've overlooked this for this long. Miles and Jackson, you guys both left Anthony Davis off your All-Star list.
No, they're starters.
Oh.
They're starters. We had Durant and Davis with Jokic in the starting lineup.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have put Jalen Williams on there, honestly. I probably should have had him. I just don't know who else I would get off, or I would take off this list.
Yeah, no question. That's
like as soon as an injury replacement pops up, for sure Jalen Williams. If my list is absolute, he is the first person that should be on there. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe I take Sabonis or Sengun out and put J-Dub in there, but like, yeah, I kind of missed on that one.
Miles, you know how did you start or Kyrie?
No, I did not. He was the one that was right there that didn't.
I had to put Kyrie.
I went Booker over Kyrie, but it's so close. They've both been having very good seasons.
How'd you pick Jackson Jr. over Kyrie?
Because of the winning. I wanted to honor their winning, and because of the Maverick injuries, they have obviously slipped in the standings. And honestly, when you look at if you go stats wise, I want to say beside Kyrie may be only averaging one more point than Jaren Jackson this season, and Jackson gives it to you defensively. He's been creating his shots, a lot more. He's been very efficient.
Yeah.
And obviously, for a Maverick, Luka would have made the All-Star game if he was going to play. He's going to miss the game. Same thing like with the East. I mean, there are normal guys. You mentioned Paolo, Franz Wagner would have been an All-Star. And then, Embiid, I don't think so. His numbers are decent, just hasn't played enough. Paul George has been bad. None of us had Maxey on our All-Star list. I guess that's something that we didn't talk about. That's another case where he's putting up a lot of points, but he's putting up a lot of shots to do it. So it's not,
Yeah.
And they stink.
Yeah, they've been very disappointing as well, but certainly difficult across the board here. I put Booker, Curry, Wemby. Yeah, it'll be great to see Wemby making his first All-Star game. Eventually when that gets announced, we'll see some crazy highlight from him in the game.
So Miles, our only differences were, I think the wild cards. You had Jackson over Irving and Sengun over, or Sabonis over. Can you put that back up there?
Sabonis over Fox.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and honestly, those are both could go either way.
Honestly, all these lists are really good.
Yeah, this is not a scenario where there should be any player making the game that isn't having an all-star type season. Like I remember last year, we recorded an episode when the reserves got announced, and we all watched together. We recorded right afterwards. And Karl Anthony Towns made the reserves list, and we were all like, what? Like, how did Karl Anthony Towns make the All-Star game? I don't think really any of us had him on the list, but this year, I don't think there are any guys that are undeserving of making the list. There are definitely going to be a whole lot of snubs that come out of this, a whole lot of deserving players that do end up making it. It's just so difficult to come out with this, but I'm sure we'll bring up this point again when the starters and reserves do get announced and we have the full rosters. Do you guys think that, maybe starting next season, they need to expand the All-Star rosters to 13, since that's normally what would be played on there's an unlimited amount of players you can play on a game. But, for a while it was 13 active players on a normal roster. There should be 13 All-Stars on a team instead of 12, because, there are a lot of guys that deserve to make it that may not end up making the All-Star game.
I think if you bring that legacy spot back, keep it to 13. Or move it to 13.
I don't know. It's a tough kind of nuanced discussion because the more spots you add, the less it means.
That's true.
So
Very
that
true.
would be my that's obviously the argument of point. Back on Karl Anthony Towns though from last year. If John Morant makes the All-Star team this year, that's the Karl Anthony Towns from last year.
That's actually fair, yeah. Even though I had him on my list, yeah, that's fair.
Who would you put in over Morant, Joe, if you would again?
I would definitely put J-Dub.
J-Dub as I mean, okay, I think
it sucks not having one, but I can't given that J-Dub, I left him off my list. I can't put Jaren Jackson over him. I actually can't. With OKC's record, I try to reward success and try to factor that in as much as I can, and I slipped my mind this time.
Yeah, similar to the Cavs' dominance over the East, the Thunder have been more dominant over the West.
The Thunder just dominated the Cavs too, so
they did, and we haven't been on the pod to talk about that game a whole lot. If we want to touch on it a little bit,
I don't actually.
Well, I think it's interesting. So that game, obviously, last Thursday between the Thunder and Cavs. This one in Oklahoma City. And obviously, the Thunder completely destroyed the Cavs in that game. By far the worst loss of the season for the Cavs. How much do you guys take away from a game like that, especially considering the Cavs Thunder just played the week prior? The Cavs beat them. Obviously, it's in Cleveland. It's one game out of 82. What do you guys think? Do you guys, go into that much with that game in particular?
Well,
as far as talking about, the Cavs or the Thunder.
From the Cavs' perspective, they will be saying the game was over in the first 6 minutes. We were down. Well, actually, not the first 6 minutes. First 8 to 10. It was really after the first 6 minutes that it went haywire because they got outscored by SGA in the whole quarter. And if you're the Cavs, you'll chalk it up to a bad 6 minutes. After the first 6 minutes, you'll chalk it up to we just had literally a 6-minute stretch that causes us to go down 20, and we just have to avoid doing that. But for the Thunder, you'll be saying the opposite thing. Like, we beat the best team in the league by 20 in one quarter. Like, if we play that way all the time, then that is what our ceiling is. So, I think from the Thunder's perspective, it should mean more to them. From the Cavs' perspective, they should move on from it.
It's kind of the same way. It's literally exactly flip-flop for what the Cavs, when we talked about it previously. When the Cavs beat the Thunder, it was, this is a great win for the Cavs. But for the Thunder, it's like, hey, some guys didn't give their best game. Like, you're going against the top of the East. It's a road game. You only play them one game there out of 82. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, this is literally nothing. It's just a loss. It's nothing too bad. Same thing. Cavs, just a really bad game. Really bad 6-minute stretch. After that, but if you're the Thunder, man, we just dominated that team.
Yeah.
A team we just lost to, one of our 5 or 6 losses. Like, this is great. We're on cloud 9 right now.
Yeah, I would agree. I know Cavs fan, the night of the game and like the day after, obviously it was very difficult. Luckily I had to work and call a basketball game. That's the one time I was happy to not have to be able to watch a game. I like watching the highlights after the game because it obviously was rough. But at the end of the day, I mean, both teams, if we're talking, those teams have been the best in the league all season. They're, at the halfway point, they're both like around the 35-6 record, and they both split the games against each other, winning on their home floor. So that's really the best scenario you could have for both teams, at this point of the season. I'm still hopeful that ends up being a finals matchup because I think it'd be a great series. But of course, the Thunder should have mega confidence after that type of game, ending off the season series on that type of dominant fashion.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, even with the Cat, because that's the thing, the Thunder, they defended their home court, but this Cavs team, when they went on that ridiculous run in the early, we cleared out our Western Conference road trip. We beat Denver, we beat LA, both LA teams. Like, we're going against contenders in that Western that the Thunder have to play. We beat them straight up, and then they're the only ones that protected their home court. So good on them. Yeah, very good on them.
That was the first loss to a Western Conference team by the Cavs, which For a loaded conference, it's definitely impressive. They'll play Houston twice this week, so we'll see if the
Big
Cavs.
week for the Run on the Paint crew.
It certainly is, and it is also the NBA's rivalry week, where we'll get a bunch of different matchups. And isn't it funny how the
I thought the Cavs Rockets rivalry was only between us running the paint crew.
yeah, they schedule it right during rivalry week. Both matchups in Houston Wednesday, then in Cleveland Saturday. So definitely funny how that works out there. But yeah, man, certainly a fun time in the league. Over the next couple episodes, we'll bring a few trades over, since we've got the trade deadline coming up over the next couple of weeks. And now we're at the halfway point of the season. We'll start to really learn a whole lot about some other teams, about some teams and their plans going forward on the season. So definitely an exciting stretch of basketball coming up. You guys got anything else before we get out of here?
Not much. Yeah, probably next time I see you, I'll be in Florida.
Yes, sir. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks,
man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If
Fine.
you did, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace. Damn.